Hello and welcome to Relatable Code. In this video, we are going to set up a navigation drawer in our application. So let's get started. In this video, we are going to create this navigation drawer. Okay, so we have a home fragment and a gallery fragment and a news fragment as well. And we're going to do this setup using the navigation component. The first thing we're going to need is to go to our app level build.gradle and paste these three dependencies. After doing that, you have to click on sync now, which doesn't appear for some reason. So you can sync the project from there. And don't worry about these dependencies. I will provide the full source code in the description of this video. Okay, so after you do that, you're ready to create the menu layout for your navigation drawer. Okay, so our navigation drawer currently has 3 items. So we're going to create a menu folder as an Android resource directory. So go into that and create a menu resource type. After doing that, click on OK. And now you can create a new menu resource file, and it will be something like drawer_menu. Click on OK. And here you can add these 3 menu items. Okay, so they will be items like this. They can have an ID. For example, this can be nav_home, and it can have a title of home screen. Close that item tag, and you can duplicate it twice. One for the gallery, nav_gallery. It will be our gallery screen, and we also have a nav_news. It will be our news screen. And after doing that, your drawer_menu is properly set up, and now you can create the fragments. So go to this main folder and create your first blank fragment. It will be home fragment. You will also need a gallery fragment. Click on finish, and a news fragment as well. Create a news fragment just like that. And let's begin with our home fragment. So delete what you don't need from here, as well as the companion object. And do the same for your gallery fragment. Delete these, and the same for your news fragment. You can delete these functions. So go back to your fragment home, and here you can create just a simple setup with a background, for example. Give it an Android color. We can use Holo Blue. For our background, we can leave that at frame layout for now. Change the text of this text view to become home screen, and you can give it a white text color if you want. I think that will make it stand out a little, and a center gravity, so that we can have this text in the middle of the screen. Okay, this is unnecessary, but I just want you to see a nice visual for our app. And we're going to do the same for our gallery fragment. You can change that back to gallery fragment. We can't find it, let's just delete it. We don't need a context anyways. And change the text of this text view to gallery screen. You can change the color to something like holo red if you want. Okay, and now you have this gallery screen, and you still have your news fragment. Copy that, paste it here. Let's change the background to holo green light, and here you have your news screen. Okay, if you zoom, you can find this text inside. Okay, so now you have your fragment set up, and you can now set up your navigation graph. So to set up this navigation graph, you're going to go to your resources folder and right-click New Android Resource Directory and choose Navigation. After doing that, go to your navigation folder, right-click New Navigation Resource File, and name that something like Nav Graph. Click on OK, go to your design view, and here you can add your three fragments. Okay, I have a separate video just about navigation component, so make sure you know about the navigation component before proceeding. Okay, I will provide the link in the description of this video. So you can click on New Destination right there and choose Fragment Home as your start destination. You can add the rest of the fragments with Gallery Fragment and News Fragment. These will not render because we did not provide a context to our gallery fragment and our news fragment. But we can easily solve that by going to our split view and providing a layout right here. So go into layout, you can use fragment gallery for this one and fragment. Sorry, layout fragment news. Go back to your design view, and that's how they should look like. Okay, that's how you set up your nav graph XML. And now we're going to set up our activity underscore main.xml file. So here we're going to need two components. We need a component for our main container view, and we need another component for this navigation drawer. Okay, the first component is a component that you're familiar with, and that's the fragment container view. Okay, give it a match parent by match parent as well. Give it an ID. You can name it nav host fragment and give it these three properties. Okay, the name has to be nav host fragment. The nav graph has to be our nav graph, the one that we just created, and it should be our default nav host. Okay, that's how you set up your fragment container view. And as you can see, it's already properly rendered in the XML. And what we're going to need now is something called a navigation view. So we can create one with navigation view. You're going to need the first component. So click on that. For the width, you're going to need wrap content, and for the height, you're going to need match parent. Okay, because the navigation drawer has the full height of the screen by default, but it only needs as much width as its items, basically. Okay, so we're going to leave that at wrap content. Let's give it an ID of navigation underscore u, and we're going to give it the menu that we created. In our case, that's our drawer menu. Okay, so you can see that it's properly rendered right there. And now we just want to constrain it to our constraint layout. Okay, so you can write start to start of parent. Just like that, your navigation view is now properly constrained. Okay, and that's how you set up your activity main XML file. What's left is our main activity Kotlin file. In this activity, we're going to use view binding. So go into your project right there, go into your app level, build.gradle, and make sure that you have view binding enabled. Okay, let's have this a modern approach to navigation drawers in XML. So let's create a reference to that view binding right there with activity main binding. And you're also going to need a reference to your nav controller, in addition to something called a toggle. Okay, so create a toggle right there. It will be an action bar drawer toggle. Okay, so that you can properly toggle the navigation drawer with this icon. So that's it for the global variables at least. Now we're going to give a value to our binding with binding equals to activity main binding dot inflate layout inflator, and we're going to set content view to our binding dot root. Okay, after doing that, we need to obtain a nav controller. So first we're going to need a nav host fragment. We can get one using support fragment manager dot find fragment by id r.id dot nav host fragment as nav host fragment. Okay, and now our nav controller can be equal to nav host fragment dot nav controller. Okay, it's that easy. And what's left is we're going to need to use our navigation UI. Okay, and we can do that with navigation UI dot. We need two methods. We need a method to set up our action bar with the nav controller and to set up our navigation UI with our nav controller as well. Okay, so we're going to use these two methods. Let's start with this one. It will expect an activity. We're already in an activity and a nav controller. And next, we need a drawer layout. Yes, we forgot to use a drawer layout right here. So go into your activity underscore main.xml, and instead of using a constraint layout, we have to use this drawer layout. Okay, and this drawer layout has the wrong closing tag because we're closing it with a constraint layout. Let's solve that. And now we don't need a constraint anymore, right there. Okay, we have an error. Do we have an error? I don't think we have. Let's leave it as it is, and let's give this an ID. Give it an ID of drawer underscore layout. Okay, after that, go back into your MainActivity.Kotlin file and reference it with binding.drawerLayout. Okay, and this got rendered and it disappeared. That's completely normal. And after using setup action bar with nav controller, you're going to do navigation UI.setup with nav controller. Okay, so you're going to pass your navigation view and you're going to pass your nav controller as well. Okay, that's it for our navigation UI. And now we have to set up our toggle. Okay, so write toggle equals to action bar drawer toggle. It will need an activity. This is the activity. It will need a drawer layout. That's the drawer layout. And we can pass 0 for the string resources. Okay, these string resources are not important for now. They are like content descriptions for accessibility settings in case someone blind, for example, wants to use your application so that this can be a string resource referencing a string that can be read out to that blind person. Okay. For now, let's leave it like that. And we're going to add this toggle to our drawer layout with drawer layout.add drawer listener with our toggle. Okay, and after that, we're going to call a method on our toggle, which is sync state. After calling sync state, you will make sure that your toggle is properly synced with your navigation drawer. Okay, that's what you need for that setup, and you still need one more function, and that function is on options item selected. Okay, you can override that method, and after that, you're just going to add a single condition inside to handle this toggle, opening and closing your navigation drawer. Okay, so inside this, you're going to write if toggle dot on options item selected. You're going to pass your menu item, which is this one, and you're going to return true. Okay, I think that's the whole setup. Let's run our application. And here we have an error because nav home is incompatible with attribute ID as a reference. And this happened because we didn't use ID for our IDs. Okay, so let's update that and rerun our application. And we got a crash. So if we investigate our logcat right there and scroll up, you're going to see a warning or an error stating that navigation view is not a drawer. Okay, so if you go to your navigation view, there's a property that we didn't add, and that's layout gravity. It has to be at the start so that this drawer can be rendered on the left side of the screen if you're using LTR, okay, which is left to right. After doing that modification, run your application again. Let's clear our logcat, and that's our application. If we click on this icon now, you can see that it turns into the back icon. And if I click on my gallery screen, I will not get navigated to the gallery screen. And that's because in my Nav Graph, I didn't use the same IDs as the IDs inside my drawer menu. Okay, so copy those IDs from the drawer menu into the Nav Graph right there for the Nav Home and the Nav Gallery and the Nav News. Okay, and you need to do this so that inside your main activity, when you set up your navigation drawer with this nav controller, it can properly find each fragment according to the ID. Okay, so it's going to link the ID of the menu item to the ID of the fragment inside your nav graph. So after doing that, rerun your application and check your device. Let's try now to navigate to our gallery screen. That's your gallery screen. And you can also navigate to your new screen. If I click on the back icon, I get navigated to my home screen. Okay, that's how you set up a drawer with your navigation component. If you like my type of content and you find it to be relatable, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next video.